Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another session of our Bytes and Banter, hosted by Women in Tech Africa today. We are joined by Banke Alawaye. I'm so happy to have her this evening. She's joining us all the way from Nigeria. And she's an all-round package. She's a serial entrepreneur. She's a techie. She has a passion for education. Not only that, she has a passion for girls in tech and developing talent. So, Banke, thank you very much for being with us this evening.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here. I've been following Women in Tech Africa for a while now, and I've had a few events for Women in Tech Africa. So I'm really, really happy to be part of Bytes and Banter. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, well, we'll just get right into it. I mean, I know that you also started as a techie, right? So it wasn't like as if you changed courses in your life. So can you give us a little bit of insight? Why technology? Was there a certain spark that, that started this whole bonfire? What was it for you?
You know what? I saw a computer. Let's just put it like that. That was just it. So it was the summer I was turning 16 or 17. It was that summer, my mom just thought, what else could I do? And I went to a school to learn typing. And okay, that shows how old I am. So after learning to type on the regular typewriter, you remember the old style manual typewriter? So you have to learn on that first, and then they graduated you to a word processor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned to use a word processor. So there was, those computers back then, really big, bulky, DOS prompts. And from then I was hooked. I just wanted to know a bit more about it. How does it work? What else can it do? That was it. That's where I first got the interest in, I just want to study something that has to do with computers. I wanted to know more about it, how you could use it. And then I think I was lucky enough in that even though I studied computer science, where I worked next helped develop that interest. So I worked in a marketing company, and I could generally just have been doing really basic work, but I got to work with a team of developers who were writing programs to sort data, deduplication, and that kind of thing. And they really took me under their wing and showed me how they were doing what they were doing. And that just really solidified, like, I'm hooked. So this is what I want to do.
Okay. So you just basically jumped into coding. It was always very interesting for you?
Yes, it was always very interesting to me. I think that I find that, if you asked me maybe a few years ago, now I know better, I'd say that I'm not very creative. I think that I know how to do things step by step, but I don't know how to think outside the box. That's how I used to describe myself.
Okay.
So I used to feel like coding was so, it was so lateral. You could just one step after the other. As long as you understood the logic, you could make it work. As long as you could create the logic, it's this, then that. If this, then that. It just seems so simple and logical to me. So I think that's why I was hooked with it.
Okay. Did you ever think at that time of creating something with that knowledge that you had?
No, you know what? That's why I say that I didn't think I was very creative, because I didn't think about what I could do with it. I just like to solve problems with it. So I'm in the office and they want something done, and I'm thinking, okay, so how do I make this solve that problem that they have? Or how do I make it answer that question they're trying to answer? And that's how I approached it. And from there, I went on to work in a bank, and I took what I thought I was going to work in the IT department of the bank.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's what they hired me for.
Okay.
But then it was an investment bank. And I spent a lot of time with the investment bankers, the financial advisors, just helping them and showing them how to use their computer to solve the problems that they had. And somehow I moved from the IT department to investment banking. I ended up being a fixture in investment banking, and I learned how to be a financial advisor. So that took me away from technology for a while. And but somehow I found my way back to technology again.
Okay. Okay, so that means you've always been in one form or the other. You've always been linked to technology. But that whole excursus into investment banking, was it tempting for you to actually not go back to coding or not go back to technology? I mean, investment banking, you're dealing with big customers. There's a completely different focus there.
Yes. It was exciting and it was interesting. I think the thing for me is that I've always liked to learn new things. I've always just, I don't know, I've been open to just seeing how things work. So I didn't plan to go into investment banking and I didn't even plan to come out of it. So I'll explain what happened. My daughter was quite young then, and investment banking hours are long.
Okay.
You literally just out working all the time. And I wasn't able to get home in time to do homework with her. I was missing things like she's in the concerts at school and I couldn't get away from work and all of that. And then I just thought, no, I don't want this kind of lifestyle. I don't want this to work so many hours that I'm missing out on all these things. And I mean, that's a personal choice. There are many women who can do both. But I also happen to have an underlying health condition. So it's not just about whether I wanted to work so hard. It was literally just how much can my body take and what can I do? And I just decided I kind of wanted to work less hours. At that time, nobody in Nigeria was offering you the option of working from home or flexible hours. You just had to come to the office and you had to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes you wouldn't leave till 8 o'clock at night. Lagos traffic, you actually are not going to get home till about 10:30, 11. It was really long and grueling. So after a few years, I decided that I had learned enough, and maybe not so wisely, I decided to just break out and try and offer my services freelance. I mean, what I'd seen at the investment bank was that there were people who needed the kind of services we offered as an investment bank, but couldn't afford investment bank fees, but they would be able to afford a smaller consultancy being able to do that for them. So I saw that as an opportunity that, okay, I can earn a living doing this, and then I can write my own hours. It means I can work whenever I want and have time to do the school run and have time to sleep when I need to sleep and not have to work weekends if I didn't want to. So that was just it. I think I made a rather personal choice then that wasn't about building a career, or it was really just about, I just needed to feel like I was comfortable and happy and healthy with the work that I was doing. And that's really why I moved out of investment banking. But you see, what's always helped me is this. I think because I had a technical background, or because of my love for technology, I very early on was using technology for my work. So even at the time, I had a computer at home, I had internet access, I knew, or I was perhaps working remotely before remote working became a thing. I knew how to create that work environment at home, use the tools I have to be able to work efficiently, and to basically teach my clients that they didn't need to see me 24/7 to get quality work from me. So I sort of created that, I don't know, nomadic lifestyle for myself that so many people are craving now and wanting without really knowing what I was creating. It's just that I just needed to be able to be comfortable and know that I was able to take hours off when I needed to and work when I could work. So that's how I just really went about it.
Okay, so you never turned your back on that life. So that was basically, you found your niche and that was where you now started to thrive.
Yes. That's it. That's really what happened. And I think from there, I've just gotten opportunities where somehow, and I was on a call earlier today and I was saying that there's hardly anything that you're going to do now that you're not going to use technology in one way or the other.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't think of a profession where technology would not help you in one way or the other. So what's happened is that with every opportunity I found myself, the idea or my love of technology and the way that I know how to apply it has sort of helped me to thrive in those areas. So when I had an opportunity to go into education, it was because of my knowledge and passion about technology that I was able to create those programs and apply myself in those areas. I have run a digital marketing agency as well. And again, it was because of my love for technology that took me there. Because what happened was I got an opportunity to work on a campaign simply because I was in a meeting and they were talking about doing something, and I was able to speak up and explain to them what they needed. And then I got offered a job just like that. It's like, okay, I think you should come and do this because you seem to know more about it than we do. So can you come do this for us? And then from there, I got offered the role to actually run digital marketing agency. It was a South African company, and they were coming into Nigeria, and they just needed someone on ground who could go to clients on their behalf. Because before they met me, they were flying in once a month to have client meetings. And then they just decided that, okay, it's better to have someone who's here who can do those client meetings on our behalf. And that's how I ended up running the agency for about 7 years.
Oh, cool.
So, one, I'm always open to opportunities. The thing is, when you think about it, you don't really, when you think in retrospect, is when you see that, oh, I was open to that opportunity. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes when you really are in the moment, you don't think of yourself as in, oh, I'm sitting here just waiting for an opportunity to come up. That's not how you think. Mm-hmm. But when you look back at actions and what you've done, it's just that there came opportunities. You were ready just because I was ready, because I had the knowledge, I had the willingness to try, and I had the willingness to learn new things in the areas where I didn't already know. And that way I was then able to step into those opportunities and make something of them.
So I'm hearing things like willingness, openness, knowledge, education. And I would like to link that to your passion for education. I know you worked on CodeLagos. This is a project, this was where the goal was to upskill 1 million Lagosians in coding.
Yes.
1 million. Okay. First of all, I just thought, so do all of them have computers? What level of the society is this? And did they actually meet those goals? So how did you even come to start with CodeLagos? How did it become something that you wanted to do? Was it something you saw and you said, okay, I need to get people upskilled, or I see where the African continent is going and I would like to, bring my part into it? What were your thoughts?
It was a combination of things. And it took a village. This is not all my work. Okay. Some of it is my work. So what it is that, so the then special assistant on education to the governor of Lagos State, I had worked with him on another project, and then he was made special assistant. And the question was, in education, what are the things that we need to be looking at? So basically, I was part of his think tank, so to say. So we said, in education, what do we need to do at this time? What are the things that we need to be looking at? Where's the future going? And where are the quick wins? What can we do for our children, for people of Lagos that would make an impact in education? And there were several projects, not just CodeLagos. CodeLagos was just one of the things that we came up with. Because the thing is, I'm very passionate about the fact that everybody needs to be upskilled when it comes to technology. Of course, there are many issues that we have to deal with. We have to think about the issue of access, access to the devices, access to the internet, affordability of all of these things. But I think the overwhelming thoughts we all had then was this: we can't not do anything. It needs to be addressed. So we could have said that it's too big a problem. There's 20 million people in Lagos. How many of them even have access, even have computers? But then we had to start from somewhere. We set ourselves an audacious goal because we felt that a big enough number would inspire even us that were doing the project to really think out of the box, to think big, to try and create big solutions, right? So that's why we had this audacious goal. I mean, I'm happy to say that the Lagos State government is still continuing this project, and we didn't reach 1 million, but we did over 150,000 in the 2.5 years that we run it, and it's continuing. So I am very positive that the 1 million will be reached. And the idea of teaching them to code wasn't just that we wanted 1 million people who would then be software developers or who would be coding all over Lagos, but that coding teaches you, like I was saying earlier, that what I liked about coding was the way that I felt like it helps me think logically. It helps me create solutions, or to be able to think, step by step through a problem. If I do one, then I have to do two, then I must do three before I can do four. And we felt that was lacking in our education system. And to say that we wanted to go in and change the curriculum and how teachers teach and all of that, we wouldn't have gotten anything done in that same time frame. But what we could do was introduce them to coding, which meant that more children would get introduced to this way of solving problems, of logical thinking and reasoning skills. So that was one of the things we wanted to do, was to introduce that kind of reasoning skills. And two, we also felt that they needed to be exposed to technology so that we can start to develop the interest early, whether we like it or not. Only the people who can use technology are going to be able to do the jobs of the future. Now, we can't let these children go through school, not be exposed to technology, and then they have to compete with a global market. The world is global now. So even the jobs that they want to do in Nigeria, if they don't have the skill to do it, Nigerians will hire people from outside to do it. So they're competing in a global market. We have to get them ready. And so there's, like I said, there's all this really, all these things that we considered in getting, in creating that program CodeLagos. So, and it wasn't just so we started from primary school, primary 5, 6, secondary school, and then there was also an out of school component. So people who were out of the school, who were over 16, over 17, who were no longer in the formal schooling system, also had a chance to go to either like a public library or a community center, and they were also able to take part of in the program. So it was a range from the really young ones to older people that went through the program and are still going through the program.
Okay. And what was the resonance? I mean, what sort of feedback did you get from also the children who you were involved with? Could you see, was it being sucked up? Was it like a gap that they could just continue?
It was a gap that they wanted to fill. And the thing is that when we first of all started, we thought that, again, to change education curriculum and change school calendars wasn't something that was within our power. So we had to make it something that was like an extra layer of an extra class, extracurricular that you could do in school. And it was so popular that we couldn't get all the kids that wanted to participate because, again, it was a function of how many computers we could get into your school library, just how much space do you have. Mm-hmm. Even if you did 2 kids per computer, you couldn't do maybe more than 40 or 60 at once. Wow. So the gap was there, and it was clear that as more resources are deployed, more people will participate.
You mentioned the future of work. So we're looking at our youth. We're looking at the targeted population for, I think, 2050. Where do you see us going, especially when it comes to digital knowledge on the continent? And what sort of chances would be available for those ones who are now coming up? Do you see any chances for us, and where could that actually fit?
I'm really excited about where the chances could be. And I'm excited that there's so many people who are thinking about this now. So everywhere you look on the continent now, there's a lot of initiatives about just technology education. So whether it's coding, whether it's just digital marketing skills, and other layers of it. And I think that it's really important that we continue to drive this and continue to get as many people as possible through any of these channels of coding or whatever it is that they want to learn. Reason being that a couple of things that we will be looking at is the jobs definitely need technical skills. Even if you're going to work in a seemingly non-technical role, you're going to work in one of the big consulting firms. You will be, it's not even probably, you will need to be able to use a computer. You'll need to be able to analyze data, crunch information, data visualization. All these things will be needed. And the more we prepare the young ones for it now, the bigger the pool of people who will be able to fill those roles. And if we can fill those roles, it means that there are many advancements, perhaps ideas, innovations. Even if entrepreneurs have ideas, if they don't have the workers, then those things will never come to fruition. So they have to have the workers, which is why we have to continue to prepare the people who will be the workers. But also, when you look at the continent, Europe, even North America, is looking to Africa to fill because even they have a shortage over there. So companies like Andela, what were they doing? They were training people here in Nigeria, across Africa, and they were creating jobs. So those jobs that the people in Africa were filling were jobs sitting in North America, but they were able to work remotely and do those jobs. So we can already see the trend is there. There's going to be demand in that aspect from other countries. And we are also developing our continent. So there's going to be demand for workers here who can think out of the box, who can innovate, who can help entrepreneurs birth those dreams and actually make them reality. So I feel like the demand is there, the potential is there. We just have to make sure that we have enough people to fill those roles.
Okay. Yeah, I guess, I mean, looking at looking at the situation today, you find out that you don't actually have to be in the country now to be able to work in that country, right? Which just means that I think our market has become bigger, and we should be able to market our talent much better to be able to work not only on the continent, but outside of the continent. And this is a realization that we also need to understand and use that power also to be able to benefit us ourselves. Because I mean, I guess we can't keep on waiting for charity. We ourselves also need to be able to solve our own problems, if you want to put it that way.
Absolutely, yes.
And this has opened the eyes of people that, look, I mean, we have talented people. Why can't we turn inside and use these skills? So I'd like to link that to entrepreneurship, as you said, because I mean, that's another area that is booming on the continent, because you have many who are either leaving university and not going to a job because there are no jobs, and are taking the initiative and actually starting their own, business, trying to fill those gaps that we currently have on the continent. You are an entrepreneur, for example. So can you give us an idea? Because you just started another company, apart from I don't know how many others that you have in the meantime. You are an entrepreneur at heart. What do you believe what is the how do you call it, the secret of your success, and what are the chances for entrepreneurs that are in that in this situation right now to be able to move to the next level, when you also look at the backdrop of the pandemic and what is currently happening?
Yes. I don't know. Secrets to success. I think it's just because I don't mind. I really don't mind trying, and I don't mind failing. Let's put it like that. Okay. And I think that sometimes a lot of people are afraid of getting things wrong and failing, and so therefore wouldn't try. And it's okay. I think there's enough people who have told us or who have shown us examples of failing over and over again and are now completely successful. For us also, I don't know, get comfortable with failing. It's not so much that you start something with the intent for it not to work, but until you try, you don't know what doesn't work. So you do have to put yourself out there and try a certain thing, and then figure out that, okay, it doesn't work this way. Perhaps I should try a different way. So I think that in itself means that I probably do more because I'm willing to try different things. And then maybe because I just happen to be rather restless. Yeah, I like to be busy. I don't know. Some people say I work too much, but I like to be busy. But I think that entrepreneurship is here to stay. It's not for everyone, and I don't like to sort of make it seem like it is the only way and it is the holy grail. It is not. You have to do what works for you. For a long time, I used to say that I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm just somebody who's trying to find flexibility in my work. And that's what I was doing for a very long time, not even setting up like formal structures for the work that I was doing. I was just doing work on my own terms. And I think that perhaps more now than ever, it's easier for you to not be an entrepreneur and still be able to work on your own terms, because employers are now a bit more flexible. What's even happened with now having a pandemic is that employers who were not flexible before have been forced to be flexible, and have realized that, oh, we can be flexible. Because 6 months ago, some employers, if you were talking to them about remote working and telling them, especially in Lagos where the traffic is horrendous, and telling them that everybody doesn't need to come to the office every day, they wouldn't buy into it. But when they were forced to buy into it, they realized that actually the sky is still there. We can still work. We're actually still able to be productive. So if there's anything that's come out of this, is that it's now made that flexible working a bit more of a reality. It's now closer to home for a lot of people. And more people can now still take a job with an employer, but still have that flexibility of, I don't have to get up at 6 a.m. so I can be in the office by 9, and then I don't get back till 9 o'clock at night. And I can be productive for like a good 6-7 hours during the day without having to do this mad drive through traffic and hardly get any sleep and all of that. So I think I may have digressed from your original question. But yeah, I just needed to share that. So I think your original question was about entrepreneurship, and
yes, and the youth, so to speak, and I guess the future for that on the African continent.
Yes, I think that it's going to continue as it is. We need more, there's so many problems that we need to solve. And it is the people with entrepreneurial mindsets that are going to maybe create the big ideas that will solve those problems. So entrepreneurship is going to be a mainstay, and I think it's going to grow more. Like I said, it's not for everyone. And even the entrepreneurs need the solid workers who can take their idea and make something of it. And some people just prefer that way to success. I think that we should do more to encourage entrepreneurship and perhaps teach some better skills on entrepreneurship. As so, yes, you have having a good idea is not enough. It's not enough to make a successful business or a successful project. It's not just the idea. It is all those other skills that surround entrepreneurship. The being able to pivot when you need to, being able to think about numbers, there's so many other skills that you need. And right now, education generally, traditional education isn't really geared towards teaching entrepreneurship. And that's something that perhaps is a gap that needs to be filled, because I think that the solutions to all the problems on the African continent lies in the young people who have that entrepreneurial mindset and who will come to the fore with all these brilliant ideas. But they will need that surrounding skill set that would help them take it from idea to a successful innovation. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to talk a bit about Digify Nigeria, because I think this was part of that project, right? You were involved. It was a project with Facebook together, and I think it was a mentoring program. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Okay, so Digify Africa is a Facebook. They work with Facebook to do to teach digital marketing skills, and basically what it is really again is teaching the digital skills that can get young people into employment. And digital marketing is something that a lot of businesses need, and a lot of the traditional businesses now need those skill sets in-house. And a lot of people there seems to be a lot of people who can do digital marketing because they feel that they can pick up random skills and then they're digital marketers. But it is a proper discipline that needs to be taught properly with people who are with case studies and from people who are in the industry and who have experience. And that's how Digify approaches it. And I'm just one of the facilitators on the Digify program. So I teach some of the classes that they do. In Nigeria, there's been, I think, 6 cohorts now that have gone through the Digify program, each of about 25 people, I think, 20 or 25 people each time. And what happens is they go through an 8-week program, then they're placed with agencies, so that they then get, I think, 3 months hands-on experience, and then they can go out into the world and find their own work. And most of them are usually retained by the companies that they intern with anyway. It's a very good program because the people that come out of that program, I've actually hired a couple of them myself. People that come out of that program have a solid foundation in that they've been taught by industry experts. They've had hands-on experience and training. And I think it's a really good thing that Digify came up with. So Facebook sponsors it, but it's, the company that owns it is Digify Africa, but it's sponsored by Facebook. And so on that program, I've had the opportunity to teach a lot of young people who have some raw talent from different backgrounds. Somebody I just hired, I think he studied, was it physics or something like that? And he's ended up in digital marketing. And he is absolutely brilliant at it. So young people are finding that they can actually be digital, not in a way that they initially thought, because I think people, when you think technology, think everybody's going to be a software engineer or something like that.
Yes, that tends to be.
There is so much. There's so much from the software engineer all the way to the digital marketer to the UI UX person. There's so much, and there's so much room for everyone to bring something unique to the table and use their skills differently. I think one area that everybody should be looking at, young people who are looking at digital now, is data, big data analysis. Gosh, we need to, right now, we don't know what we're doing with data. We're not even collecting it properly. So that is a big opportunity there.
Yeah, it is. And it's been harnessed elsewhere than on the continent.
And we need it on the continent because it would help us make better decisions.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I guess we'll get there. The people who are working to get there. Yes. I would like to talk a little bit also about your Girls in Glasses. I know that you're also very passionate about young girls in technology. What are you doing in this area?
So what I am doing, or what I'm trying to do, is that I every once in a while I put out a call and I let people know that I'm open to mentoring women who are interested in running a tech-enabled business. So either they've already started or about to start, and they just need some hand-holding, some mentorship, someone to just maybe point them in the right direction, maybe give them a few contacts so that they can develop their idea. And what I have been doing is those one-on-one mentoring. I mean, I'd like to do a whole lot more than that, but so far, what I have been doing is one-on-one mentoring with women who are interested in running their businesses in technology. And I've met some interesting people this way, and a few of them are about to launch some interesting businesses. So really cool. I'm happy. I'm really proud.
That's good. I mean, I guess we are looking at people like you as role models for young women and girls who are coming. As I said, my daughter is also in this call. And I think just knowing that you have that possibility, and technology is not limited to only those who are brainy and have great ideas, but everybody can actually leverage it. I mean, we go from really small technology like your phone, and all the stuff that you can do on your phone, that actually enables you to gain a view into this world. So yeah. So when we come to everything around, how are you doing during this period?
Initially, well, obviously none of us were prepared for this. I mean, there was no dress rehearsal. We didn't know what was coming. And initially, you get through the first week lockdown was sort of like I think I was even locked down before lockdowns officially started, because once there was the talk of what was happening, it was just scary to be out, not knowing what to expect. So I had started to not go out unless it was absolutely necessary, maybe like 2 weeks before our government actually said, okay, everybody stay at home. So by the time the government said everybody stay at home, I'd already been home for about 2 weeks.
Okay.
So by the time we were 2 weeks into lockdown, you're like, gosh, this can't be happening. And I think the thing that we all realize, or maybe I've realized, I'm not sure everybody else has realized, is that this supposed new normal just gave us all a different way of thinking. I found that initially it messed with my sleep. I just wasn't getting enough sleep. And if I'm not getting enough sleep, I'm not doing very well during the day, because then you're just tired and cranky and not really very productive. And it took a while of just maybe stepping back and reflecting and just talking to myself that, you know what, we're all in this together. So it's not only happening to me, it's happening to the whole world together, to get to a place where you accept it as the normal and can then go on. And I realized that not everybody is that lucky to be able to just calmly talk themselves through it. And some people are doing not as good as others. But I think that I was lucky enough. I'm lucky enough that I've always been sort of that pragmatic. You know, I was saying about leaving the bank. I didn't waste too much. I sort of like give myself some real logical answers, and I can then be happy that things are working the way they should work, and then I don't fret over it way too much. I find that it's kind of even made me be more connected to people. Okay. So I'm reaching out. The fact that I can't see people, or we're all isolated and still have to remain largely isolated, because even when you go out now, you're still very careful about being around too many people. So you're still largely isolated. I find that it's made me a bit more thoughtful in reaching out, talking to the people I want to talk to, just saying hello to something, just kind of like, I'm thinking of you, I'm here, if you want to talk. And yes, and I think that's a good thing. And I hope that continues through however COVID finishes. But I acknowledge and I see that it's hard. It's hard for your life to just be turned upside down. It is. And that's largely what has happened to all of us.
Exactly. Did it affect your businesses? Did you see a decline in businesses, or do you have more work at the moment? How
I have more work. For me, I have more work. Okay, so aCubed, I actually started during this pandemic. Not because, but it was a conversation that was already in progress. So pandemic, we just thought, oh, good time to sit down and dot the I's and cross the T's, and we just went forward with it. But I find that I'm in more demand. People either want me to come talk to their group, or have questions about using some form of technology in their business, or even just using technology to connect with their family. So yeah, I find that I'm actually really quite busy at this time.
Okay, but is it for you, is it a positive thing, or do you feel overwhelmed?
It is. There have been moments of overwhelm, especially because I also started aCubed in this time.
Yeah.
And there were days when literally sat at my desk at 8:00 in the morning. I didn't get up till 8:00 at night. And it's like, no, I can't work like this. But that's because I was creating a company, and that's just how that works. Mm-hmm. But we're putting in structures, we're hiring, and that overwhelm is falling away the more we can hire and train new people, and spread the load. So the overwhelm is slowly being dealt with.
Okay. Well, that is good. Thank you so much. I would like to open for questions now, since I have hogged you long enough. So thank you, everybody, for listening to us. If you have any questions, please just unmute yourself and please go ahead and ask. Or you can also write your question in the chat.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Maria Teresa, and I'm sorry I missed the beginning of the talk, but yeah, I think I got still a lot of good insights. So thank you very much, Banke.
Thank
So
you.
I run a small startup in Tanzania, and we have team members who work from different countries and different continents. And one of the things that we experienced because of the pandemic was that a lot of our plans were had to be delayed or stopped, and we were looking to launch one of our products with the team members that were coming to Tanzania from Europe, and that had to stop. So what would be your, and we had to deal with that in the best way that we know how, and delay the launch. But what would be your advice for small startups that are running on budget and that had to delay their operations and have to face the circumstances of actually either running out of funding or having to fully alter all the plans and strategies they initially had in place?
Thank you for that question. I'm not sure what your startup does, but I think I can offer a little bit of general advice, which is,
yeah,
did
I
you
can
want to tell me what
quickly.
the startup does? Yeah, yes,
Yes,
please.
so we have a digital health startup, and we are launching the first mobile application in East Africa that provides basic health information in native languages. So we're starting with Swahili in Tanzania and then expanding to other languages in other parts of Africa.
Wow, fantastic. This should be your time. This is the time when the service that you're offering is really, really needed. There's a lot of, I don't know what's happening in Tanzania, but I know a lot of governments, funding partners are putting funds in solutions that are health focused at this time. So I see calls for applications, for hackathons, for competitions, for ideas that all surround itself to um, that point that are about either contact tracing, health solutions, and those kind of things that are really relevant now. Now, you may already have been looking at a certain part of the health ecosystem for your first launch. But I think that it's important that you're flexible enough to pivot and that you address what is on ground now. What is on ground now is that people are going to be looking for information around COVID. They're going to be looking for information that is all related to the treatment of it and all of that. So I'm not sure how you're getting data, because I know that you have to sort of develop the content for an app or whatever service that you're doing. So you may have to pivot and quickly find content that is relevant to what is going now. I'm not sure about what's happening in Tanzania, but for example, in Nigeria, I know that in Lagos, there was I know Lagos state government is putting some amount of funding into this kind of solution that you're just talking about now, because government needs to reach the people. If you're doing health in local language, it is one of the solutions that is needed right now, because one of the problems that is happening is that in order to get people to comply with all the advice on how we all stay safe with COVID-19, part of it is communication and making sure that everybody understands what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. So if you already are you're already building an app that is speaking in a local language, this is a good time for you to have that out there. So I know how far into the app building process you were. Could you quickly get an MVP out that just addresses the information around COVID-19? This might be a good a place for you to launch. I also know that people who may have funded you before should also basically have reviewed their terms and conditions, which is happening across board for a lot of funders, even banks who had loans out there are giving moratoriums and allowing people a bit more time to pay back. So you may have to look into the actual specific packages that are happening in your country, but I believe those packages are happening all across the world, and there will be some things that you can certainly key into in Tanzania as well.
Just a quick additional question or comment. First, with the app, we launched the MVP or working product 6 months ago, and we've been piloting with nearly 500 users. So we are already past that stage, and we already have a working product.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest challenges and maybe you can put insights from Nigeria and on how the ecosystem works. Funding in Africa, when you're looking for funding from either organizations or other funding sources, it's usually funding for what we call SMEs. So it's not really some serious funding for, let's say, a company that can take you from one stage to another, or that can help you run operations for the next few months. Say, most of our team are medical personnel, so it's medical doctors that we work with. And some work full-time within the team. So when you talk about extending 3 months of the budget, you're talking about a few €1,000. And when you apply or when you see these hackathons, it's, I don't know, €2,000, $1,000. And it takes so much time with very little resources that it doesn't make any sense to actually participate in these things. And that has been one of the biggest challenges, that as entrepreneurs, we really don't look for resources within Africa because it's not available. When you're a company that is looking for funding above €50,000, 100,000, or even more, within Africa is not a place for it. So that's an additional.
Yes, I do. I mean, I hear you. I feel you. I mean, there's some work that I'm doing right now in Nigeria to try and get the traditional sector leaders in Nigeria understand that they need to be looking at funding startups in Nigeria. Because like you say, the funding is coming from international. And unfortunately, that's probably where you have to look right now. The funding is coming from international now. And I think that there are international funds too who are looking for health solutions at this time. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure that I've seen even something from UNICEF or one of these UN organizations being advertised where they're funding some of these programs. So I think that you're quite right. It's international. Most of it is international. Some of it may be directly from your government, because right now governments in Africa are creating or using the funds that they're getting from international donors or international monetary organizations that they're getting to invest in solutions that they need right now within their country. Unfortunately, I don't have any specifics, but I may look into that for you.
Thank you.
All right, Banke, thank you.
We have 2 questions also. The first one is from Robin in the chat. She says, have you found an issue with people in your community not having internet access or access to the equipment they need during this time to work or to keep learning?
In my community directly, no. But I do understand that it's a problem. And so, for example, one of the things that I worked on during this time was that, so the Ministry of Education had partnered with some people with online learning resources, and they were providing, those resources were provided for free so that students, and I think it was primary and secondary school learning materials, could be available for free for those students. But then a major issue was the fact that some of them didn't have internet access. And what we did was go talk to the telcos and ask them to give us zero-rated access. So at no charge, just at this time, it's a pandemic. Nobody really planned for this, and we have to keep these children engaged. And we're able to get the telecom operators in Nigeria to zero-rate those platforms. There were 2 specific ones that the students didn't have to pay for data to be able to access that. I mean, that's one solution. It's not going to solve everybody's problem, but at least it gets a portion of people to have access to learning materials and to be able to go online when otherwise they would not have been able to afford to. I mean, there are many of the people who are what I would say the middle upper class who are able to afford internet access. They go to private schools. The private schools are even running full classes online. They start at 9 and finish at 3 and are doing proper school. But for a vast majority, they have to make do with either this zero-rated access to the sites or TV. So a lot of state governments also were putting the school content on TV so that they could access it on TV, and then some on radio as well. So we're using the channels that are available. It will not cover everybody 100%, but at least we're making progress. We are using what is available and trying to make it as easily accessible as well. Some schools are even using WhatsApp. So they're coming down from having to access a whole website with resources to using WhatsApp to teach the students. So we're trying to use what is available, how it's available within the constraints that we have, and doing the best we can with it.
Robin, I hope that answers your question. We have another question. It's from NetSenet. Can you please share some numbers with us? How high were the numbers of participating girls in the coding trainings percent-wise, and what code were they taught?
So numbers, I don't know the absolute numbers, but I know that we were over 40% girls. And that is because we were deliberate about it. So it's not, especially in school, it was easier to get the girls because, they're a captive audience, they're in school. So they can insist that if we're going to take 40 students, I must have at least 15 of them to be girls. I can insist in the school setting because they're a captive audience and I can get them. Out of school, I realized that it was a bit harder to get the women to come. And some of the things we did was that, one, we did special call-outs for women to single them out and say, this is for you ladies. And then we even had some classes that were women only, so that if the reason you didn't want to come was because you didn't feel comfortable being in a mixed class, you had also the opportunity to attend the one that was based for women only. So I think in school, we were able to get our 50-50 split. Out of school, it was more like 30-70. So on average, it came to about 45% women. And ideally, we were going for a 50-50 split. But we found that in the older category, it was harder to get the women to participate. What was taught, we did in primary and junior secondary school, it was Scratch mainly. In senior secondary school, it was Python and Scratch. Some of them still wanted to learn Scratch. And then out of school, it was Java, Python, web development, and blockchain.
Ooh, blockchain, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Netsi. And there's one more question. Lena wanted to ask a question. You can unmute yourself. Hello, Lena?
Is Lena still there?
Yeah.
Okay, you wanted to ask a question?
Yes, I wanted to ask how you came to Women in Tech.
How she became a woman in tech?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think I may have answered that at the beginning.
Yeah, she answered it at the very, very beginning.
So you may have to watch the replay.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the short answer was that I just by accident was exposed to a computer very early on when I was about 17, I think. And I just totally, absolutely wanted to know more. And that was just the beginning for me. And this is like back in the time when we had DOS prompts before Windows. So it was harder then to learn about technology. Not like now.
Yes, it was. It was. I mean, today you have pretty much everything ready and, low code. And it's, we've gone through a very big, from the 70s with COBOL and Fortran to where we are today, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a progression.
Mm-hmm.
Banke, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today because we've completely overran our time. But I think for everybody who was on the phone, it was very interesting listening to you. Kudos to all of the things that you've done so far. Banke has a website called bankealawaye.com, right? There you can follow her. She also has a blog in there that you can read up on, and you can reach out to her via LinkedIn if you have any questions, especially about entrepreneurship and some of the things that she's doing.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It was very nice to talk to you all. Thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing your time with me and Ola here. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ola, for having me.
Thank you, everybody. Now I wish you a pleasant evening, and we will see each other again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.